Guys, welcome to a classic war movie review of 1949's Sands of Iwo Jima, starring John Wayne, John Agar and Forrest Tucker. Directed by Allan Dwan, this is the story of a group of US Marines under the command of Marine Sergeant John Stryker as they train for and ultimately participate in the historic Battle of Iwo Jima. Now, this holds quite a distinctive place in war movie history. The film stands both as a tribute to the US Marine Corps and a product of its time. Now, this thing is dripping with patriotic fever, cheesy Hollywood storytelling and a star-making performance from John Wayne. Now, made just 4 years after the war, this features so much actual stock footage that it's as much a dramatised documentary as it is an action film, and at the time, one of the most brutal depictions of warfare yet seen. Let's take a look. So 1949's Sands of Iwo Jima is ultimately the story leading up to the iconic flag-raising moment atop Mount Suribachi, a moment immortalised in American military history. Chances are that you've seen Joe Rosenthal's famous photograph somewhere, even if you're not familiar with the details of the Pacific theatre of war. Anyway, as I mentioned, for the most part, Sands of Iwo Jima follows the story of a group of US Marines under Sergeant John M. Stryker, played by John Wayne, who's a tough, no-nonsense leader whose harsh training methods resented by the men under his command. Now, Stryker is already a veteran of campaigns on Guadalcanal and Tarawa, and his quite harsh and unrelenting drive for perfection comes not from a place of cruelty, but from a need to prepare his men for the deadly realities of combat against the Japanese. Now, among the soldiers under Stryker's command is PFC Peter Conway, played by John Agar. He's the son of a revered Marine officer who served with Stryker. And now their relationship is strained throughout the movie, but you know it's going to come good in the end. And the platoon also includes a mixture of those classic war movie archetypes, the brash and cynical Private Bass, played by Forrest Tucker, and the loyal Corporal Dunn, played by James Brown. Now, together they form a kind of microcosm of the diverse American fighting force. So John Wayne was already coming off a run of mega westerns, Fort Apache, Red River and She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, and Sands of Iwo Jima marked a bit of a turning point in his career. Now, his portrayal of Sergeant Stryker earned him his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. And of course, he made a few war movies around this time, Operation Pacific and Flying Leathernecks. And this was quite controversial at the time, as of course this was the closest that he ever came to World War II service, as he infamously did not serve during the conflict, but that's another video. Here, though, he does a good job playing Stryker as a complex man whose personal life is in a shambles. We slowly learn that he's estranged from his wife and son and haunted by past battles. Yet he finds purpose in moulding other men into soldiers. Now, of course, Wayne brings that gravel voice authority to the role, and I've read some reviews that argue that his performance borders on caricature, and it does a little bit. It's difficult to deny the weight and screen presence that he has, though, and that he brings to his character. Now, one of the movie's most notable features is its incorporation of real war footage, and although it's easy to see where the movie ends and the stock footage begins, it does highlight how close to the real-life conflict the filmmakers pushed themselves to achieve. And likewise, to add authenticity, the filmmakers cast 3 of the real-life flag raisers, Renee Gannon, Ira Hayes and John Bradley, to appear as themselves in brief cameos. Again, you'll know when they're on screen as actors they are not, but it still adds to the sincere blending of documentary and dramatisation that lend the film just a little bit more weight, I think. So yeah, while the battle scenes may appear a little bit tame by modern standards, certainly in an age of Saving Private Ryan and Hacksaw Ridge, they were relatively groundbreaking for the time. Director Allan Dwan, a veteran of silent cinema who'd been making films since way back in 1911, employed techniques and practical effects to create the ferocity of Pacific warfare. The film's climatic battle sequences are chaotic, smoky and unrelenting, with deafening battle sequences that'll punish you with just wall-to-wall sound. Now, 76 years after the fact, Sands of Iwo Jima may feel like a parade of cliches. The ragtag group eventually moulded into a fighting unit. The guy who meets a girl on leave and gets married in about 5 minutes. He's surely doomed, isn't he? The gruff captain who will eventually earn his men's respect, and on and on. And also, if you're sensitive to such things, there's also some derogatory terminology in this movie used to describe Japanese peoples, which I'm sure was more than accurate for the time and place, but does jar a little bit these days. Now, at the centre of the movie is an interesting battle of wills between Wayne's captain and one of his men, PFC Peter Conway. And this is the guy who meets and falls for Adele Mara's Allison, and the pair get hitched just before he's shipped out to land on Guadalcanal. And here you can find themes of leadership and fatherly respect as Wayne is estranged from his own son, and Agar lost his father to combat. So the two of them are learning a few lessons about themselves and each other along the way. Now, there's also some surprising deaths here, which come quite suddenly and without ceremony. A bit of a sobering reminder of war's randomness and brutality. There's no grand final speech here. There's no heroic last stand, just men cut down in the middle of chaos. So Sands of Iwo Jima was of course made post-war and during a time when national unity was paramount in the United States. Hollywood was tasked with playing a crucial role in shaping public perceptions of the military, of course coming just a few short years after 250,000 Japanese were killed when the US detonated 2 atomic bombs over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now, Hollywood would eventually turn on the war, but films like this, 12 O'Clock High, and Battleground, and They Were Expendable, still featured unabashed patriotism and reverence for the military. If you want to nitpick, you can argue that they do invite criticism for glossing over some of the complexities and moral ambiguities of war, or you can just enjoy them as action-adventure stories. So Sands of Iwo Jima was both a critical and commercial success upon its release, one of the highest grossing films of the year and nominated for 4 Oscars. And it's since become a staple of war cinema. It's had an influence that's reached as far as films such as Full Metal Jacket, Saving Private Ryan, and of course Flags of Our Fathers, all of which owe some form of debt to its structure and themes. And the movie also played a key role not only in shaping public memory of the Battle of Iwo Jima, but of the Pacific conflict as a whole. And I suppose more broadly, the image of the US Marine Corps being this fearless and self-sacrificing fighting machine. So more than 7 decades after its release, Sands of Iwo Jima remains a worthy addition to your World War II movie viewing watch list. Is it an idealised portrayal of wartime bravery? Yeah, but it's elevated by one of John Wayne's most interesting and commanding performances, and of course grounded in real historical events. Critics of Wayne give him a lot of flack for not serving his country during World War II, especially in the Vietnam-stained 60s, labelling him a phony patriot and a celluloid warrior. But he did serve the movie-going public, starring in about 30 movies between 1939 and 1945. So yeah, like many an old school war movie, modern audiences may find its sentiments a bit dated and its characters a bit cliched and simplistic. But Sands of Iwo Jima is an impressive, almost docudrama style action flick, an interesting look into a pivotal moment in American history, and is notable for possibly being the film that fixed John Wayne's image forever as a no-nonsense, patriotic hardass with just that little bit of heart hidden below the surface. Go check it out.
All right, saddle up. Let's get back in the war.